Hi, everybody. It's Miss AD back with another story. This one is called Three Hens and a Peacock. It's written by Lester Laminack and illustrated by Henry Cole. Now, before I start, I'm going to read you the flap and the dedication and all that good stuff. But I want to talk about peacocks for a minute. Peacocks are one of my absolute favorite birds. Have you ever heard that expression, proud as a peacock? Maybe you have. So, I have always loved peacocks, and I wanted to show you that I have this beautiful peacock feather. Look at the colors on that. Beautiful, right? So all these huge and beautiful, look at the colors in there. Feathers are on this bird called a peacock. Here are some other ones. Look at that green and that teal. I even have some. My dad gave me these because he knew I loved peacocks. They're earrings, a little peacock feather on them. And when I was in college, I also minored in art. And so, since I loved peacocks, I had this picture blown up, and I was doing a watercolor class, and I actually made this watercolor of a peacock. And then we also had to do like one thing in detail. So I chose to stick with the peacock theme, and I made another watercolor trying to use just the feather. You can't really tell, but there's some cool iridescent paint that I tried to use there to get that same glow to it. Then my last prop was I also took a pottery class, and we would take clay and we would smush a piece of material on it to make it have that texture. And I was looking at this piece of material. It was a doily. A doily is like something almost like a really fancy coaster, like lacy. And I smushed it all over that piece of clay because I could see the patterns. And I thought, oh my God, this looks just like a peacock. And then I tried to paint it so it looked like a peacock. So those are some props to get us thinking about what a peacock looks like. Okay, back to our story. Three hens and a peacock. Three hens and a peacock. Everything was quiet on the Tuckers' farm until the day that peacock showed up. When a glamorous visitor lands unexpectedly in their midst and begins attracting new customers, three unhappy hens protest. How come we do all the hard work and he gets all the attention? What do hens do? What do they give us every day? Maybe you had some for breakfast. To keep the peace, the wise old hound dog makes a suggestion. Why don't you just swap jobs? What will happen when three gussied up hens, that means they get all fancy, spend the day strutting and prancing down by the road? And will that peacock ever figure out how to lay an egg? We're going to find out. Three hens and a peacock. Written by Lester Laminack, illustrated by Henry Cole. Dedication. Dedicated to the spirit of Mr. Rogers. Ooh, a classic person who always was helping children, who always said, I like you just the way you are. That's pretty powerful. That was Lester's dedication, and this comes from the illustrator, Henry Cole, for Winnie, with much affection. You can see the farm there. It's a beautiful fall day here in New England. Maybe some of you are out of farm picking some apples, looking in a pumpkin patch. Things were quiet on the Tuckers' farm. The cows chewed their cud. The hens clucked and pecked and laid their eggs. The old hound stretched out on the porch, watching and listening. Once in a while, someone would stop by to buy tomatoes or corn, perhaps a quart of milk. Nothing unusual happened there until that's what's happening with that box. Looks like it might be moving. Nothing unusual happened there until that peacock showed up. I think that's what was in the box. The cows and hens and the old hound kept right on doing what they'd always done, but that peacock never had lived on a farm before. He had no idea what to do. So he spread his fancy feathers and set to shrieking. Peacocks make not a beautiful sound. They have beautiful feathers, but they make an awful noise. Eventually, the peacock wandered down the road. When the cars whizzed by, he shook his feathers and cried out in his loudest voice. Of course, folks stopped for a closer look. Day after day, more folks stopped to admire the peacock, and they all bought tomatoes and corn, eggs and milk. Business on the Tuckers' farm was booming. Everyone seemed happy to have visitors stopping by. But trouble was brewing in the henhouse. The hens were squawking and clucking and flapping their wings. We do all the work around here. I'd like to see that peacock lay one single egg. Exactly. He just struts around screaming. I suppose fancy feathers are more important than laying eggs. That lazy peacock gets all the attention, and we do all the work. Those hens sound pretty upset. The peacock had heard every word. For days he moped about, moaning and groaning. I wish I could be more useful around here. Hmm, clucked one hen. The others ruffled their feathers. The old hound stretched and slowly raised his head. Why not let the peacock stay here to be useful while you hens take the glamorous job down by the road? Look at their faces. Even the cows are surprised. The three hens began clucking to one another. What a wonderful plan! Yes, it's a fabulous idea. Oh, ladies, we simply must fancy up our feathers tonight and nothing but our brightest beads, bangles, and bows. We'll stop traffic for sure. Why, you girls know I can strut with the best of them. The peacock perked up. Let's do it, he declared. Tomorrow I'll stay here, sit on a nest, and cluck. And we'll get all gussied up, said the hens. We'll be so glamorous. I wonder what a peacock egg looks like. At sunrise the next morning, the hens strutted down the road. Look how fancy they are. Their necklaces and their ribbons and bows and bangles. And the peacock marched right into the hen house and poked his head inside. The hens flocked by the road, waiting for a car. When they saw one approaching, they clucked and squawked and flapped their wings in a flurry of feathers. But every car whizzed right on by, not even stopping. The peacock sucked in his tummy and wiggled from left to right, trying to squeeze through the tiny henhouse door. His front half was in, his back half was out. Can't even fit in there. Peacocks are really big. Down by the road, those hens tried every chicken trick they knew. Still, no cars stopped. Finally, the peacock made it into the henhouse. He held his breath and pushed with all his might, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not lay one single egg. Not one. The old hound stretched out on the porch, watching and listening. What's that peacock doing in the henhouse? Asked Farmer Tucker. Who knows, said Mrs. Tucker. And what are those hens doing down by the road? Not one of them is up here laying an egg. Well, the way things are going, we aren't likely to have anyone buying eggs today, said Farmer Tucker. We need that peacock down there stopping cars. When the peacock heard that, he smiled the biggest smile you ever saw on a bird's beak. I am helping, he thought. He squirmed back and forth until he popped out of the cramped henhouse. Then he trotted off to find the hens. The exhausted hens were all clucked out. Every feather was out of place. What a day! We couldn't get one car to stop. It's true. Why, most of them don't even slow down. All gussied up for nothing. The peacock met the hens as they trudged up the road. I can tell you, I'm no good at laying eggs, he said. I'm just not meant for it. One hen nodded. I put on my stellar strut, and even I couldn't stop a single car, she said. I have to hand it to you, Fancy Feathers. Your job is harder than it looks. The other hens agreed. The peacock looked relieved. So the hens marched back to the henhouse. The peacock strutted down to the road. The old hound stretched out on the porch, watching and listening. And things were quiet again on the Tuckers' farm. Uh-oh. What's that? Is there something else coming? So that's Lester Laminack. Ooh, can you see it? It's a glare. That is the author, and that is Henry Cole. He's the one who drew those pictures. So I really like this story. Three hens and a peacock. I like how they all wanted to be useful and do their own thing that made them special. And I like how, they started to think, how come he gets to do that? And they sort of tried to put themselves in someone else's shoes, right? We think about doing that all the time to be empathetic. And guess what? That wasn't the job for them. They were hens. They were supposed to be laying eggs. He was a peacock. He was supposed to be strutting his feathers. So I think that's a good message for us to also be who you're supposed to be. Don't try to take on some other role. Well, that was Three Hens and a Peacock. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.